The following podcast is scheduled for one recording with no time limit. Making their way down to somewhere in the ring, Andrew Sanford and Ryan Sprague.
Hey, what's up guys? Ryan here and welcome to Somewhere in the Ring. And today I am flying solo to bring you my personal recap and review of both WWE NXT's Vengeance Day and AEW's Grand Slam, which both took place on Saturday, February 15th. So let's dive right in. We're going to start with WWE's Vengeance Day that came to us from Washington, D.C. So first off, opening the PLE, we had Phelan Henley versus my personal favorite, Stephanie Victor, for the Women's North American Championship. This match really started things off with a bang. It was fantastic. The crowd was all about it, and they were clearly cheering for a Stephanie Victor win. It was a very brutal match throughout, with both opponents hitting all of their signature moves, but by the end, Victor landed a crossbody on Phelan Henley off the top rope. She gets Henley back inside the ring and delivered a package backbreaker, and then followed it up with a tornado off the top rope for the win. And our brand new North American champion is Stephanie Victor. Incredible stuff. Next up, we had Nathan Frazer and Axiom defending their NXT Tag Team Championships against Yoshiki Inamura and Josh Briggs. This was a fantastic, really well-paced tag team match, which eventually saw Frazer tagging in and looking to fly off the top rope with a crossbody, but Inamura would catch him and land a fallaway slam on him, and then sent Axiom crashing into the corner with a shoulder pounce. Inamura then got both Axiom and Frazer up, takes them for a ride, and delivers a Death Valley driver to Frazer on top of Axiom. Inamura looks to land a frog splash off the top rope, but Frazer and Axiom rolled out of the way. Axiom flew off the top rope with a moonsault to level Briggs on the outside. There was a tag in, a drop kick off the top rope as Frazer went low and tripped Inamura and pinned him for the win. Nathan Frazer and Axiom remain the NXT Tag Team Champions. Next up, we had Trick Williams versus Eddie Thorpe in a strap match, and man, you guys know how brutal these things can get. A lot of moments of cringing and pain by both opponents, and me just watching by proxy. Eventually, Thorpe landed a signature elbow drop on Trick Williams to try to pin him, but Williams kicked out and sent Thorpe crashing into the mat. He used the strap to lock in a crossface on Thorpe, then ran him over with a clothesline, hit him repeatedly with the strap. Oh god, it looks so painful. He connected with a pair of flapjacks on Thorpe and landed the trick shot, but Thorpe rolled out of the ring before Williams could catch him. Thorpe and Williams eventually exchanged boots, but Thorpe used the strap to deliver a low blow to Williams, and he followed it up with a jumping knee for the win. So our winner was Eddie Thorpe for this one, unfortunately. Next up, we had Ethan Page versus Javon Evans, and I'm just going to say it, probably my favorite match of the night. Javon Evans is destined for great things. I cannot take my eyes off of this guy in the ring. Really good match, started really strong, started outside the ring, basically. And once they got back in, Evans looked to fly off the top rope, but Page tripped him, connected with an Ego's Edge, and he went for a pin, but Evans kicked out and fired off right hands and left hands on Page. He connected with a springboard roundhouse kick on Page, but Page countered with a neck breaker for the win. Now, while Ethan Page may have won, I do think Javon really came out looking strong in this match. He even got some color out of Ethan Page, so that's always good. You would hope so in something called Vengeance. So yeah, definitely the match of the night for me, strictly because of Javon Evans. Very, very, very well done. Next up, we had Obafemi versus Austin Theory versus Grayson Waller in a triple threat match for the NXT Championship. Great triple threat match. Everyone really got to show off their stuff throughout. Grayson Waller continues to crack me up. I don't know. It's so interesting to see A-Town Down Under in NXT. I know it's always tough because it seems like a demotion, but honestly, like when you're not going to be doing things in the WWE main roster, either on SmackDown or Raw, like you might as well, right? Be in basically a championship match. So anyways, back to this match. This was very well paced, very well thought out. Femi would escape an A-Town down by Austin Theory and connected with a spine buster. He then sent Waller crashing through the announce desk, but Theory clocked Femi with a chair from behind. Femi knocked the chair out of his hand, but Theory leveled Femi with a DDT and followed it up with an A-Town down. He went for the pin, but Waller pulls the referee out of the ring before he can complete the count. Theory berated Waller from the outside, but Femi sent him crashing into the mat with a spinning powerbomb. Waller looked to land a rolling stunner on Femi, but Femi avoided it, and Waller accidentally hit Theory. Accidentally, huh? Femi then landed a powerbomb on Waller for the win. So our NXT champion remains Oba Femi. And this was kind of interesting. After the match, Cutler James, Saquon Sugars, Dion Lennox, and Osiris Griffin appeared in the crowd and attacked Femi, leaving him laid out with a powerbomb. Osiris Griffin. Shout out to Andrew on that one. All right, and for our main event of NXT Vengeance, we had Julia defending her NXT Women's Championship versus Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez and Bayley in a fatal four-way match for the championship. Awesome match. Awesome match. However, I will say Bayley looked a little, not rusty, but tired. She's been doing a lot. These past few months, weeks, even days. She was just at an NBA event like the night before this, had to fly to Washington and take part in this, but she's just doing an incredible job of building up stars over there at NXT, so I give her all the credit in the world. We saw, towards the end of this match, Bayley and Roxanne Perez brawling, and Julia and Jade went after each other. Jade delivered a suplex to Julia onto the floor, but Roxanne Perez landed a pop rocks on Bayley, dumped her back inside the ring. And then she landed a second pop rocks on Bayley and pinned her, but Jade rolled up Perez. Perez kicked out, but Jade landed a DDT on Perez. Julia broke the fall, then landed a ripcord knee, sent Perez crashing into the mat, pinned her for the win. So our winner and still champion is Julia. This was an awesome main event and truly shows where the female division is at in NXT. After the match, Stephanie Vicor came out to the ring to celebrate with Julia, and then boom, Jordynne Grace's music hit, and she made her way down to the ring, staring down the newly crowned Women's North American Champion, Stephanie Vicor, and NXT Women's Champion, Julia, just as the show went off air. Okay, guys, my final words on overall NXT Vengeance Day. This was a consistent show, never dragged, so well paced and executed. And, you know, while the NXT women's division keeps growing and is definitely the strongest element right now across the entire brand, the men's main event, it truly did deliver as well. So I give the guys credit as well. Nathan Fraser and Axiom versus Josh Briggs and Anamura really did steal the show in a lot of ways. But Julia and Stephanie Vicor had really solid nights as well, walking out with gold. But now it truly is about what they do with it and where they go next. And where will Jordynne Grace fall into all of this? So, I am giving Vengeance an overall grade of an A+. This was a fantastic PLE. All right, we are moving over to AEW with AEW Grand Slam that came to us from Brisbane, Australia. And just going to say, off the top, it was a little awkward. Show started with Tony Khan coming out to greet the crowd, and Tony Khan was greeted instead with thunderous boos. Now, there is a reason for that. We will get to it towards the end with my overall grade and final thoughts on AEW Grand Slam. But let's get to the first match of the night, and this saw Takeshita and Kyle Fletcher versus Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay. Man, the crowd did go nuts when these guys each made their entrances to start things off with Grand Slam. And everyone really did have a chance to be in control and get in their offense, but everyone also got a lot of good selling in for their opponents for defense. This was a very, very well-constructed match with everyone putting each other over. It was really, really good. Match came close to ending several times before it finally concluded with Ospreay and Omega combining their finishers to get the pin on Big Take. This was phenomenal from start to finish, and the crowd gave them a clearly deserved standing ovation. Spoiler alert, this was definitely the match of the night, at least for me. And once again, our winner was Will Ospreay and Omega defeating Fletcher and Takeshita. Next up, for the Women's TBS Championship, we had Mercedes Moné versus Harley Cameron. Australia's very own Cameron had the biggest opportunity of her career when she challenged Moné for this championship, and she got a huge pop when she came out, obviously. So that was really cool to see. Harley Cameron, the ventriloquist, found her Mercedes Moné puppet under the ring and held onto it while she hit some mounted punches in the corner. The CEO ripped the puppet away, stomped on it, and kicked it out of the ring. This was hilarious. I don't think I've ever seen a puppet used in a professional wrestling match, so that's awesome. Unless you count Mr. Sacco. I guess that would somewhat count. What do you guys think? Is Mr. Sacco a puppet? He is. He is. Okay, so maybe I have seen it before. Anyways, Cameron used the puppet to taunt Moné later in the match as she began to build up some momentum. Sadly for Cameron, however, Mercedes was too much for her to overcome, and Moné hit her finisher and scored the win to retain her title. This was definitely not a show stealer, but it was a solid match, with Mercedes Moné defeating Cameron to retain. Next up, we had a Brisbane Brawl, baby. This is the Death Riders versus Jay White and my personal favorite, Cope. It's Edge. Come on, guys. It's Edge. This was a brawl with absolutely no rules. Weapons, putting each other through tables, fighting in the crowd, and everything else that usually goes on with a no DQ match. And Cope was on his A-game in this match and took some big risks along the way, which really made me nervous, especially after just coming back from a major injury. But yeah, everyone did good, but Cope was the star here, as he always is. Eventually, Wheeler Utah showed up with a belt and started whipping White, but all it did was piss him off. Shafir and Utah helped the Death Riders gain control, and Moxley eventually won by choking Copeland out. They continued attacking Cope as the crowd booed very loud. This was a very, very solid match with some fun moments, but the crowd just was not having it. They were clearly unhappy with this outcome. The winners were the Death Riders. However, Adam Copeland won this match for me. MVP, baby. MVP. Next up, we had Okada versus Buddy Matthews for the Continental Championship. Buddy Matthews and Aussie got a huge pop, and these two put on a performance that showed that they have studied each other really well, knew all of the tricks by heart, which made for some really fun interactions. And it was a great match. It allowed both men to really show off. Matthews put up a really good fight, but he was unable to defeat the champion to win the title. Okada hit the Rainmaker to close out a very competitive bout, and Okada defeated Matthews to remain the Continental Champion. And this brings us to our main event of AEW Grand Slam. We had Mariah May versus Toni Storm for the Women's World Championship. So these former allies wasted no time getting right to the action after the bell, and an irate Storm took it to the champion and stomped her down in the corner. This was such a physical match than any encounter these two have had before. but it also felt like a very personal fight. Storm wasn't trying to play the timeless role as much as she was trying to just hurt May, maybe kill her. Both women did hit their finishers before Storm used an inside cradle to score a somewhat surprising win to regain the world title. That's right. Toni Storm is our new women's world champion. The crowd erupted as she was declared the victor, while May looked like she just suffered the greatest loss of her life. And this was really a fantastic way to end this show. So here are my final words on AEW Grand Slam Australia. It had some major issues leading up to this show, such as people being under the impression that this was a pay-per-view, and the delayed start time due to the NBA dunk contest that was going on. But it really did not have the best start of the event because of Tony Khan being booed heavily. Definitely not a good look. I will say this. AEW kills every pay-per-view that they do. Every time. I love them. I rarely give them under, I guess, a B+ if I really had to. But Tony Khan himself just needs to go away. Period. But as for Grand Slam, all 5 matches met expectations, probably even exceeded them. And the Australian crowd had plenty of local heroes to cheer for in various matches. Toni Storm regaining the women's title to become a 4-time champion is probably going to be the biggest talking point coming out of the night, but the match that truly stole the show was Will Ospreay and Omega versus Fletcher and Takeshita. So yeah, I am going to give Grand Slam an overall grade of a B+. And that being said, a lot of people looked at both of these events as a Saturday night war. Who came out on top? Who won? WWE or AEW? Well, I'm just going to say it. We all won. These were 2 fantastic pay-per-views, PLEs, whatever you want to call them. And, while we might be critical of AEW at times, which is usually pretty well-deserved, we're pretty critical of WWE when they mess up too. So, no more of these wars. It was interesting to see that they kind of went head-to-head. But, yeah, for me, I personally enjoyed WWE Vengeance more, but man, there was just such incredible wrestling across the board this past Saturday, February 15th, and I hope you guys enjoyed this review, and I hope you will join us this upcoming week with Andrew and I as we continue to ponder what's going on somewhere in the ring as we head down the road to WrestleMania. So be sure to join us over there. Be sure to check us out on all social media, whether it's Twitter, X, Facebook. We have a very active Facebook group you can join. Just search for Somewhere in the Ring Podcast on Facebook. And you can also find us on Blue Sky, brand new account going on over there. Be sure to check out our YouTube channel where you can get video versions of all of our episodes and some special mini episodes over there too. And speaking of mini episodes, be sure to join our Patreon. Help support all of our endeavors at Somewhere in the Ring by going to patreon.com/somewhereinthering podcast, where we do bonus episodes, match commentaries, and everything in between. We could really use your help over there, guys. But the biggest and most important thing you can do for us is to rate and review Somewhere in the Ring wherever you get podcasts. Primarily on Spotify or Apple Podcasts would be preferred and appreciated. Help us move up and get featured on those big platforms. But wherever you get the show, just be sure to send us some love. We would truly, truly appreciate that. And we are sending our love out to all of you guys. We love doing this show. It is a passion of ours, and we really, really like doing this. We love wrestling, and there has been no greater time in the history of professional wrestling to be involved with this. And we just feel so blessed, honored, whatever word you want to use there. We love what we do, and we hope that you will continue to join us somewhere in the ring. I'm going to hit that bell. Ready? Yeah! Special shout out to Stephanie Vicor. I love you.
This has been Somewhere in the Ring. Thank you for listening. Subscribe wherever you get your pods, and be sure to rate and review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever possible. We'll see you again soon, somewhere in the ring.